today we're going to make Porterhouse steaks on the grill, and we're going to also make some yummy asparagus. So let's get started. So this is a Porterhouse steak. I buy these locally down at our store. I usually wait till they're on sale and buy them and then put them in the freezer. So what I did with this one is I put it in the freezer the night before and then let it thaw out, and then I just got it out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to season it right away with some salt and pepper, and then I'm going to wait about an hour till it's about room temperature, because you want to cook your steaks room temperature or else they don't cook evenly. A Porterhouse steak is one of my favorites because it's actually two steaks in one. So you have a larger area. This is a top loin, and then the smaller area here is a tenderloin. So a top loin is what you would call a strip steak, and the tenderloin is more like what you would call a filet mignon. So it's been about an hour. Steak is about room temperature, which is what we want. And the ingredients that I use for my rub are just some sea salt, some coarse pepper on this. And then the butter I have here, it's something we're actually going to use during the cooking process. The last couple minutes, a butter on top of a steak right at the end is going to give it more of a richness taste. Just put it on top of the steak. Nothing real fancy. I think the steak actually has a better taste in the brick oven when you don't do a whole lot more than just some salt and pepper on it. Kind of pat it in so it stays on a little bit better. And then I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And that steak is ready to go in the oven. What I need to do next is prepare my oven, and then I'm going to put this grill in there and let it get hot. So I'm going to move my coals around because I want a little bit of the fire still going. So this is my Tuscan grill that I'm going to use to cook my steaks on. I've oiled the top a little bit. That does help keep the steak from sticking as much. And I'm going to put it in the oven for maybe about 10 minutes. And I want this thing very hot. It's going to take on just a little bit of a grayish appearance. You can kind of tell when it's ready to go. So I'm going to put that in the oven right now, and I'm going to put it right over a bed of hot coals. Let's check our grill and see if it's hot enough. You can kind of tell it starts getting a patina look to it, and it is steaming hot. It's probably 600 degrees right now on there. So what I do is I usually use my poker stick to drag it forwards. Get it up close to the edge. And now it's time to put our steak on. So I use a pair of tongs. I'm just going to set it up here on the grill. I'm going to push it back on over the coals, and you want to leave it as it is. Do not move it around. And the reason you don't want to move it is you want to keep it as juicy as you can, so you don't want to, smash some of the juice out of it. And also you want a really nice pretty grill mark on it, so leave it just like it is. If you move it, you're going to not have a really nice grill mark. So we're going to leave this set for 2 minutes, and then we'll check it and turn it. Alright, it's been 2 minutes. We're going to pull the Tuscan grill forwards again. And what we're going to do now is just rotate the steak. I'm going to let that sit for 2 minutes. Again, I'll push it back a little bit farther and let it finish cooking on that side. And then we're going to flip it over and cook the other side. What I'm trying to do is get it to a medium to medium well cook today. And what I'm going to do now is just flip it over. Let it sit for another 2 minutes. Alright, we're just going to pick up the steak one more time. Just rotate it. It's about a total of 8 minutes to cook a steak to get it to about that medium well state. And what I like to do on that last 2 minutes is take my butter and I'm just going to drizzle it over top of the steak, and that just adds to the richness of the taste. So I'm going to take it out of the oven. There's our steak. Now we're going to test it with our digital thermometer. Our porterhouse is now done. It has nice crisscrosses on it. It's really important to let it rest for about 5 minutes after it comes out of the oven. And to do that, you just want to cover it with some foil and just let it be. And the reason for that is if you cut it open right now, right away, all the juices and a lot of that taste is going to come right out of the steak. But if you let it sit for about 5 minutes, the steak reabsorbs all those juices and it makes it nice, and it tastes so much better, and it's just more juicy. I should be able to just follow it right down the bone like this. So now that we have our steaks done, I am going to show you a really yummy side. And it is going to be asparagus. And asparagus is the best when it's cooked in the brick oven. It just has its own flavor. And once you try it, even if you don't like asparagus, like my son didn't like it, he actually liked it when I made him try a piece. It's nice. You can just do a whole course meal by just having one fire here and just cooking at different temperatures. Now it's time for the yummy asparagus. But before we get this prepped for cooking, we got to heat up our pan. So I got a cast iron skillet, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you want. And just put in something like that, maybe a couple tablespoons. And then we're going to put it in the oven. So we'll let that sit in there and get a nice hot pan for about 10 minutes. So asparagus, the part you want to eat is the tender part, and there's a woody end here. And the way that I found the best to figure out where you should cut it at is to simply bend it and let it snap at that point. And then when you have a piece that you know this is the good end, use this as a pattern. And this is all pretty much the same size asparagus. So I'll just lay it here, and then I'm just gonna cut, and I like to do it at a little bit of an angle. I think it just looks prettier. The best way I found to really get all the seasoning on it evenly is if you put it in a bag, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil, a teaspoon of sea salt, and a ½ teaspoon of coarse pepper. So I'm going to put this all inside the bag. I'm going to just zip it closed, and then you just kind of move it back and forth until you see that kind of glistening all over the pieces. It only takes a minute or two to do it, and you can see it's coated nicely. And then that is ready to go into the pan. So let's check our pan and see if it's nice and hot. It should be by now. It's kind of steamy. You know it's up to the temperature it needs to be. A little trick that I use is this little grate that I have that I sometimes use to cook on. This works really good when you're working with really hot cast iron or anything really hot. Take it out of the oven, and instead of handling this hot pan, I set it on top of here. and it gives me something safe to grip onto. So now you can take all this asparagus, just put it into the pan. That sounds so good. I mean, it's cooking right now. It's not even in the oven, which is kind of cool, and it just has such a nice sound. It's starting to smell really good. Now we're going to put this back into the oven for 2 or 3 minutes. It really doesn't take long. It's been 3 or 4 minutes. They've been cooking and they're just about done. I've stirred them a little bit here and there. They don't need a lot of stirring, but they are ready to come out now. So I'll take them out and show you what they look like when they're all finished. So the asparagus is done, and I'll show you a couple things I look for. Here's a piece that's done, and here's a piece that's raw still. So you see how it turns a deeper green color? And the other thing is, this is real flimsy. It kind of starts to droop a little bit, and that's the sign to let you know that it's done. And we're ready to put everything together and start eating. If you enjoy our videos and like the brick oven lifestyle, please feel free to subscribe so we can send you new videos and updates.